Hello, everyone. Welcome to a bright sunny day. Can you hear me? Okay. Now, okay, what I said was, why are you here? No, it's a nice sunny day, and just reflecting today will be the words of Ronnie, who didn't feel safe coming today and speaking about his status as an immigrant. Just to let you know that, but he really wanted to be with us. And Ronnie was involved with our congregation several years ago. I remember especially when we had the work day, and he was working harder than any of the rest of us. So a really good guy. I'd ask us just to pause for a moment, and then after a brief pause, during the brief pause actually, we're going to hand out these little cups of water. Don't drink them. Hold on to them. I just want us to kind of focus a little bit on one of the basic elements of our world, of our lives, of us personally, and that's water. Simple, but very important. So let's just take a moment to reflect on maybe one good thing that happened to you this week. Hopefully you have more than one, but focus on that one. Water is very basic to us, and I'll speak for myself. Most of the time, I'm inattentive to the needs that water fills, and it's a gift to us, keeps us going. I'd like us to dip our hands in the water You can put some on your forehead or your hands or anything, but just as you do that, reflect on the benefits that water offers you each day, and then pass it around, okay? No drinking. And that one thing you have in your mind, maybe share it with someone today, or after we're done, or you can whisper to each other among yourselves now. The thing you're thinking about, either the water or the good event that happened to you this week.
Good morning, I'm Penny, and I'm your reader this morning. Please join me with a call to celebration. Come, beloved, and release your frenzied fear.
We come, trusting the enduring promises of the Holy One.
Let meekness rise as strength of soul.
May our promised inheritance of love shine brightly all around.
May it strengthen us in our waiting and our working.
May all that is evil wither, and all that is good grow to fullness.
May the grace of God rest on us all as we gather. And please join us in the opening song, We Are Your People. The reading this morning is from Zechariah 7, 9 through 10. Thus say the Lord of hosts, render true judgments, show kindness and mercy to one another. Do not oppress the widow, the fatherless, the foreigner, or the poor, and let none of you devise evil against another in your heart.
Good morning. I am here representing Ronnie this morning. Hello back there, yes. And I'm going to read his words this morning to you. Good morning, everyone. Standing here today, I am filled with gratitude. Life has a way of surprising us. Sometimes in the most difficult times, we find the most extraordinary people. Today, I want to share my story with you, a story of resilience, transformation, and above all, the incredible power of kindness. In October 2016, I stepped onto a plane from Uganda, filled with excitement for a conference to be held in Denver. It was my first time in the United States. I remember stepping off the plane at JFK, taking in the city lights, shimmering like endless stars. I was eager, ready to explore, unaware that my journey was about to take an unexpected and life-altering turn. The next morning, after I'd landed in Denver, I wandered through the streets. I stopped at a Verizon store to ask about a SIM card. The employees chuckled at my winter gloves, and I soon learned that in Colorado, October isn't exactly glove weather. It was a small moment, one of my first lessons in understanding the culture. But in just a few hours, that lightheartedness would disappear. There came a phone call that changed everything. It was my sister Brenda. Her voice was trembling. "They broke into your house," she said. "They were looking for you." My world collapsed. This wasn't just a robbery, it was a message, a warning. Back home, I was no longer safe. And there I was, standing alone in a foreign street, realizing my short visit to America had just turned into something else, a search for safety, for belonging, for a future. Desperate and lost, I turned to the only thing I could think of, which was Google. I searched for the LGBTQ support groups and found PFLAG, Parents and Friends of Lesbians and Gays. I dialed the number, my hands shaking. And then Judy Murray answered the phone. I didn't know how to start. How do you explain to a stranger that your life has just fallen apart? My voice trembled, but Judy listened, not just with her ears, but with her heart. That conversation was the first flicker of hope I had had in many days. The next day, Judy and her husband Bob met me in a park in Aurora. I was nervous, unsure of what to say, but they asked questions, the right questions. And for the first time in a long time, I spoke. I explained my fears, my pain, and my uncertainty. And they simply listened. No judgment, no hesitation, just kindness. And in that moment when I felt most alone, they made me feel like I mattered. But they didn't stop there. Bob and Judy brought me into their home, introducing me to their children and grandchildren, Patrick, Julian, Serena, Eric, Sylvie, and Felix. What was supposed to be a 2-week stay turned into 5 years. 5 years that reshaped my entire life. Through Bob and Judy, my circle of support grew. I met Tom and Colleen Lures, who introduced me to the St. Francis Center, where I began working with the homeless community. What started as a desperate search for shelter turned into a calling, a purpose I never could have imagined. Then came Scott and Pamela Munstock, who became my greatest encouragement. Marty Holmes, whose dog Walter was the first I ever house sat for, giving me unexpected moments of comfort. Even small joys like caring for other dogs, Walter, Henry, and Bo, became part of my healing. And then there was the Wash Park Church congregation and St. Francis Center staff. They didn't just welcome me, they embraced me. They became my family when my own disowned me. With the help of Ann Chung, my lawyer, I applied for asylum. With a work permit and the support of Tom Lures, I became a case manager at St. Francis. Years later, I was honored to become the program director for employment services, helping others find stability just as I once had. Looking back, I know the day I met Bob and Judy changed my life forever. Without them, I don't know where I'd be. They, along with others, Tom and Colleen, Scott, Pamela, Tom and Alice, Marty, and my church family, showed me something powerful. Kindness isn't just a simple act, it is a force that changes lives. To all of you who open your hearts to me, I stand here today because of you. You gave me hope more than a place to stay. You gave me a future. My journey began with fear and uncertainty, but it led to hope, purpose, and family. And so today, I leave this with you. Never underestimate the impact of a single act of kindness. It might just change a life. It certainly changed mine. Thank you. So I wanted to give a few notes to put in context Ronnie's journey. He has been here 8 years. He has a green card, which means he can work and pay taxes, but that's all it means. Asylum is still a distant future, although he applied for it. Each year, the United States sets a numerical limit on how many refugees will be admitted. To be admitted as refugees, individuals must be screened by multiple international U.S. agencies and demonstrate a, quote, well-founded fear of persecution based on race, religion, membership in a particular social group, political opinion, or national origin. Asylum seekers are individuals already in the United States who fear returning to their home countries and who must prove they meet the definition of a refugee. People from countries with high levels of immigration in the United States, for instance, Mexico, China, India, and the Philippines, generally have the longest waiting times for immigrant visas. For example, the married and unmarried adult children of U.S. citizens from Mexico and the Filipino siblings of U.S. citizens must wait between 19 and 24 years for visas to become available. Much of the undocumented population has been here for at least a decade. The Trump administration said it will continue to prioritize deporting those with serious criminal records, but in a break from the Obama administration, the new policies also take aim at immigrants whose offenses are limited to living here without permission, or such crimes as driving without a license or using a fake social security number. In February 24, and again in May 24, Republicans in the Senate blocked a border security bill Biden had pushed for to reduce the number of migrants who can claim asylum at the border and provide more money for customs and border protection officials. It was negotiated in a bipartisan manner and initially looked like it had the votes to pass until, you guessed it, Donald Trump opposed it, citing that would boost Biden's re-election chances. A tourist or traveler is considered a visa overstay once they remain in the United States after the time admission has expired. The time of admission varies greatly from traveler to traveler depending upon the visa class on which they were admitted. So, in most instances, overstaying a visa is a civil wrong and not necessarily a crime, though the person is still subject to deportation for unlawful presence. So I want to share a reading from an essay called The Almond Trees, which was written by Albert Camus. Some of us remember him as an Algerian French philosopher. In 1940, Hitler had occupied 10 countries, including France, where he lived. This was the setting for this essay. It begins with a quote from Napoleon. "Do you know what astounds me most about anything in the world? The impotence of force to establish anything. There are only two powers in the world, the sword and the mind. In the end, the sword is always conquered by the mind." He went on, "When I lived in Algiers, I couldn't wait patiently all winter because I knew that in the course of one night, one cold February night, the almond trees of this Vallée de Consul would be covered with white flowers. I would marvel then at the sight of this fragile snow resisting the rains and the wind from the sea. Yet every year it lasted just long enough to prepare the fruit. This is not a symbol. We shall not win our happiness with symbols. We shall need something weightier. All I mean is that sometimes when life weighs too heavily in this Europe still overflowing with its misery, I turn towards those shining lands where so much strength is still untouched. I know them too well not to realize that they are the chosen lands where courage and contemplation can live in harmony. The contemplation of their example then teaches me that if we should save the mind, we must pass over its power to groan and exalt in its strength and wonder. The world is poisoned by its misery and seems to wallow in it. It has utterly surrendered to that evil which Nietzsche called the spirit of heaviness. Let us not contribute to it. It is vain to weep over the mind. It is enough to labor for it. But where are the conquering virtues of the mind? This same Nietzsche listed them as the mortal enemies of the spirit of heaviness. For him, they are the strength of character, taste, the world, classical happiness, severe pride, the cold frugality of the wise. These virtues, more than ever, are necessary today, and each can choose the one that suits him best. Before the vastness of the undertaking, let no one, in any case, forget strength and character. I do not mean the one accompanied on electoral platforms by frowns and threats, but the one that, through the virtue of its whiteness and its sap, stands up to all the winds from the sea. It is that which, in the winter for the world, will prepare the fruit. My dear, in the midst of hate, I found there was within me an invincible love. And finally, I want to read a poem that he wrote. I ran across this because one of my favorite quotes is this: in the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. And I had to go find out who wrote that and why. Well, he wrote that because of what was going on in Europe during the early days of World War II. It's called The Return to Tapasa. In the midst of tears, I found there was within me an invincible smile. In the midst of chaos, I found there was within me an invincible calm. I realized through it all that, in the midst of winter, I found there was within me an invincible summer. And that makes me happy. For it says that no matter how hard the world pushes against me, within me there's something stronger, something better, something pushing right back. And so we are in that winter, and we are looking for that summer, but I find it here together with you. Thank you.
Please join me in the prayer of dedication. Generous God, thank you for placing your holy love into the lap of our lives. Bless these gifts we bring, that they may be multiplied into a good larger than we can imagine. Also, bless us that we might live our lives in gratitude, sharing freely without expectation of return. Through the way of Jesus, stretch our hearts, minds, and lives into channels of your holy grace. Amen.
And look on your bulletins, you'll see the closing song. Every time I feel the Spirit. You can always stand, but if you want to be seated, that's fine too. Would you join me in the benediction? May you be blessed with the courage to interrupt revenge with love. May you be strengthened with the gratitude that freely shares with others. May you discover again and again the merciful embrace of the Holy One. And may the love of God empower you to help change the world with forgiveness. Blessings on you all. Amen and amen. And before we pass the peace, would you join me in an applause for Ronnie and his willingness to share his story with us. Okay, we'll make sure to deliver that message back to him. And now we can offer each other, share our peace with one another.
Peace be with you.